The US dollar is more manipulated than Bitcoin. The government can just keep printing more money, but they can't make any more than 21 million Bitcoin.
So Graham Stephan is a business and financial YouTuber and has one of the largest followings for giving people financial advice. He recently posted a video on YouTube giving his feelings and thoughts about Bitcoin, and, well, some of the things that he said in this video are either misleading or just plain wrong. It seems like he is parroting some talking points made by mainstream media in order to discredit cryptocurrencies. But before we get into it, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel to help the video out from being suppressed in the YouTube algorithm. So Graham Stephan has definitely done well in his industry. He seems to do well in traditional business, and in his bio it says that he's sold over 120 million in real estate. So credit where credit is due, he is good in the industry that he's in. That being said, Graham Stephan has actually bought crypto in 2017, actually at the top of the price.
I have whatever I put in from December of 2017. So I have a little bit of Bitcoin that I just threw some money in. I've left it in there. I haven't done a single thing with it.
Which then came crashing down by a good 80%. So his history with Bitcoin has been very much negative, as the only time that he's bought was right at the top and then it came crashing down. And I think this explains quite a lot of the bitterness that he has towards Bitcoin that you will see in this video. And for full disclosure, I actually bought Bitcoin when it was about $6,000 in this bull cycle that was about a year ago, and now it's worth about $40,000. So I have essentially 7x'd my initial investment from a year ago. So naturally, I'm going to have a more positive outlook on Bitcoin, so just for full disclosure, this is the meat and bone of the matter. Graham had a bad experience with Bitcoin, and I've had a pretty good experience with Bitcoin so far. At the start of this video, he mentions that cryptocurrencies is kind of like discussing religion, and people will get very passionate on either side.
See, initially I was not planning to make this video because of how touchy of a topic it tends to be. No joke, it seems as though talking about cryptocurrency is almost the same as talking about politics or religion.
And in my opinion, I do not think that cryptocurrency investing is like religion. If you play your cards right and keep your emotions in check, I think it's very feasible for many people to make money in cryptocurrency, namely with Bitcoin in this scenario. One of the main criticisms that he levies towards Bitcoin is the fact that it's volatile, and he mentions that the price fluctuations of Bitcoin can be quite drastic, going up and down in the short term, and that this is a negative to consider.
No surprise, Bitcoin can go down just as fast as it could go up. In the last few days alone, it went from 28,000 to 34,000, then back to 28,000, then back to $31,000 within a few hours.
Now the volatility of Bitcoin is, yes, volatile if you look at it from a short-term perspective, and this, in my opinion, is the wrong way to look at Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. You see, although cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in this scenario is definitely volatile when you look at it from a short-term monthly window, absolutely I would agree with that, but when you look at it on a year-to-year basis over a long period of time, the peaks and the lows are actually constantly going up. In the case of Graham Stephan, he bought Bitcoin when it was about $19,000, which today, if he would have kept on to that and sold it now, he would have doubled his money. Even though in the short run, it must have felt pretty sickening to see his money just go down the tubes when it crashed by about 80% of that price. And you can see this in any chart of long-term price of Bitcoin. All of the lows that you see on this chart are just going up. So even in the worst case scenario where you buy Bitcoin at the peak, at the top of the chart, historically if you wait a few years, it's just going to go up by about 2 or 3 times that, if you're patient enough. And that's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is during a bull cycle, you can buy Bitcoin at the lowest point, you can easily 10x your investment. And considering that Bitcoin is the best performing asset in the last decade, I would say that you could probably swallow some short-term volatility as a price for the performance. What does it really matter about the short-term price fluctuations? Graham Stephan even mocks people who are holding Bitcoin, making it out like we're irrational.
The US dollar is more manipulated than Bitcoin. The government can just keep printing more money, but they can't make any more than 21 million Bitcoin.
Now, just doing a silly mocking voice doesn't change the fact that it's a fact. The US government can print money on demand, and there's nothing stopping them. The money printing for the US dollar is absolutely extreme. Whereas Bitcoin is a fixed asset and it cannot just be printed out of nothing. You actually have to mine it with a very specific computer setup that requires a lot of electricity and power in order to get Bitcoin. It's pretty disingenuous for him to do this mocking voice, like somehow that makes it not true. You know, you could say anything that's true in a mocking voice and it sounds stupid.
Bitcoin holds value because we give it value, much like the US dollar, which is not backed by anything other than the guarantee that it's legal tender, and that you could redeem a $100 bill for $100 worth of goods.
There is no such thing as $100 of goods. In fact, the US dollar actually decreases in value by about 3 to 5% from inflation alone. So what is worth $100 today is not going to be worth $100 10 years from now. To get $100 worth of goods today from 10 years from now is going to be at least $130 of that time's currency. So how is that stable if it's constantly leaking value? He mentions that US dollar isn't going to drop 90% in a year, but it will drop 90% over the span of a few years, guaranteed. If you look at charts of how much the US dollar is worth, it has been steadily declining over time. The longer time goes on, the less and less the dollar can buy you. This is not a good thing. Now, if you want consistency with a currency or a store of wealth, holding US dollar is going to consistently make you lose value over time. What financial sense does it make for you to park your wealth into something that you know for a fact will give you losses and not profit? The US dollar in the last 10 years has gone down by about 30% in value loss, at least. I think it's obvious which is the superior store of wealth. According to Graham, he has invested a lot of his money in real estate, and from what I know about real estate is that it takes about 5 years for you to even break even. In the space of the cryptocurrency world, 5 years is an insanely long time where you could easily make profit in. Considering that 5 years ago, Bitcoin was worth about $700 and now it's worth about $40,000, if he had the balls to put a small amount of money into Bitcoin, he would have probably had a monstrously better result than any of the money that he's made from real estate so far. And this is not an opinion, this is just going by the numbers. The criticisms that he levies towards Bitcoin being unsafe and being volatile and so on really doesn't make much sense. Is it really risky to put money in something that has historically consistently gone up by extreme amounts? I don't think so. In my opinion, Graham Stephan is good for what he does, which is talking about traditional ways of making money. Traditional business, traditional finance, these are the sort of things that Graham Stephan seems to make pretty good videos on. But what he doesn't understand is how cryptocurrency works. And the fact that he bought last bull cycle at the top of the chart tells me that he probably listens to mainstream media and that he got caught up in the hype when it was increasing in value like that. And if you know anything about cryptocurrencies, when lots of people are talking about Bitcoin and mainstream media is bigging up Bitcoin, that is the time to sell, not buy. When people are hating on Bitcoin or not even caring about it, that's a pretty good time to buy. And for a lot of people coming from traditional finance, that is something that is kind of incomprehensible. The people who make it in cryptocurrency does the opposite of what mainstream media tells them to do. In fact, there's a half joke about CNN where if they publish anything negative about Bitcoin, the price is going to go up, and if they publish something positive, then the price goes down. In fact, the Bitcoin price went down by about 20% not long after CNN posted something positive about Bitcoin. So take from that what you want. What the mainstream media tells you is often the opposite of the truth. But in any case, guys, this is not a hate video directed to Graham Stephan. I'm simply criticizing some of the points and some of the things that he said in that video. I'll see you guys in the next video.